Welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. I'm Moneca.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome to episode 5 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Charades! This was actually a really good episode. So a shuttle accident leaves Spock's Vulcan DNA missing and making him fully human for the first time in his life. Right before he's supposed to meet with his fiancee, Team T'Pring, go Team T'Pring, family for an important ceremonial dinner for their engagement. Oh, it's an episode of hijinks. Moneca, what was your initial thoughts?
It was fascinating. You know what I did right there? This was well written. It was fun. Beautiful costumes and scenes. I want to say that first. And it checks all my boxes. I'm with you on Team T'Pring. I'm really disappointed in Spock. Looking forward to talking to you about it because I think we have some things to share about Nurse Chapel and T'Pring's mom. So much more. What did you think about the episode?
So I loved this episode. I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything. I loved the concept of this episode. The execution was great. Did I like the ending? Not so much. But it was a fun episode. It was fun to see Spock try and be human. And when we get to that part, we will talk about it because there is a lot to unpack there with how he's handling everything, even with his mother and with T'Pring's mom. And that woman just gives, I just want to slap you energy. Like, slap your mother.
Yeah, she's like monster-in-law, right?
Very much so. But even to her own husband. So let's go ahead and just like do the quick overview of the episode and then we can just dive into our favorite parts. Yeah. So basically, they find this. Well, the episode starts with Spock sort of going through his like mundane day-to-day items. And it sort of reminds me back of La'an for her episode when she was going through like the stuff that she has to do every day as her job. So Spock, he's in meetings, he's hanging out with his friends, he's doing other things, but he's just like, I'm still feeling a little stressed out. He's ignoring Nurse Chapel. He is like cleaning up after other people because he just can't take how messy they are. And like he's talking to T'Pring and like he is like, I'm just trying to like find my rhythm, but I'm happy I get to see my fiance again because I missed her. And they have like this crash landing and he wakes up fully human and Spock has never embraced his human side. And we see in this season that he has started to do that a little bit when he let out his anger. He had to learn how to control it. But now he's in a human body without any of the Vulcan control. We get to see how he interacts with his mom. Like a little teenager, he has to figure out how to manage his emotions. We see him fail. We see him enjoy it first and then sort of go overboard with his friends and in meetings. And then we see him make that fatal flaw of not telling T'Pring what's going on. We see him interact. We see him succeed in interacting in the Vulcan manner as a human. I see my couple break up or take a break from each other. And I just want to state, if you are taking a break from each other and you don't say we can see other people, you can't see other people. Because then he kisses Nurse Chapel. And I understand there's some heat there. I really do. But like, take some time away from each other to figure out what you want does not mean fall into bed with someone else.
Although this is a sequel to Spock Amok, there's also some character development that we see within Nurse Chapel. This episode integrates a lot of her professional journey, which we at first see, we think that it's like escape out to because she's started some conflict and she has some emotions and feelings for Spock. And she decides, well, maybe because he's ignoring her on the ship and it's getting really awkward, that maybe she should explore a different career somewhere else for a little bit until things cool off, until she resets her feelings. And we should also state that she has commitment issues. We learned that last season. But
the thing wasn't for Spock. It was she had mentioned it last episode before Spock started ignoring her.
Right.
Yeah, but she like it didn't start happening. Like she had told Dr. Mbenga she wanted that position before Spock started ignoring her. it just sort of,
absolutely.
you're going to ignore me? Fine, I'm going to leave.
Right. They've been dropping the writers have been sharing like little, we've been seeing glimpses of their awkwardness together all season.
Yes.
Right. And she's been talking about this Vulcan Science Academy. And finally, she has this interview with them. And she's late for the interview. And they wanted her to do they had some strict rules. And she decided that she was going to work around it. And she wanted her experience to shine more. And they were really stern about that. So we saw that. There's quite a bit in which they showed her like communicating with her friends, and like they were testing her with some of the interview questions.
A lot of times we see the crew interact in work aspects. It was nice to see the crew interact together in a friendship aspect.
Yes.
It was great to see how they were all testing Nurse Chapel and helping her like study. But then on the flip side, when Spock was human, they were all like helping him embrace his human side until it got to the point where he was like, okay, you're going a little over control, and then help him learn how to be Vulcan again. And they were having fun with this. Like, you see how my eyebrow goes up. I can't do it, but like, see how my one eyebrow goes up, but nothing else on my face moves. And he's like, do I really talk like that? And I was like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's like they have this comfortableness around each other to understand that Nurse Chapel and Spock, there's some tension going on between there. But one is like, we're not going to interfere. But at the same time, we're not going to let you just be like, let you fail because we're not trying to get in the middle of it. So I do love that we get to see some friendship interaction. We see Captain Pike be a friend and not really a captain in this episode.
Yeah, he was really like a wingman there.
He was. And then like after it's like Spock is human and his mom shows up and like everyone's sort of like helping him try to hide it, and Pike is like, yeah, no. Yeah, I have that same hat as regulation. I have the same thing. Pike is trying to leave, and then like the doors close. He's like, wait, what's going on? And Spock sort of has his little tantrum. Like, Pike is there as his friend in that moment and not as his captain. And I really love that. We got to see the friendships that are being built on this ship, not just the working relationships. What did you think of how Spock acted when he finally got to eat food? Like, he could finally smell and taste bacon.
And we have seen Pike cook gradually. Yeah. So I like how they're building this up. And Pike was so proud of his home garden and like the herbs that he was growing. And I think he personally felt a little rejected because Spock couldn't enjoy what he was enjoying, his love, his passion.
Yeah.
And so from the herbs, from the food that he was growing. But Spock just went to the extreme. Once he smelled the bacon and started eating the bacon, he just like tried to consume as much of it as possible, as quickly as possible. So it showed that like adolescent side, the fact that he had put off his or suppressed his human traits or human I don't know how to describe it, but like he had suppressed those, and so now that he was reverted to 100% human state, he was going to try to consume as much of it as possible.
It goes back to like what La'an said when she pulled him aside. She was like, "You are acting like a teenager. Yeah. Like you don't. Like, he doesn't know how to control his impulses. He doesn't know." Because with Vulcans, they feel emotions so much stronger than humans. So they've always suppressed it. And humans can't do the same. Like we can we can know when to react, when to act. And we know what impulses not to act on. Like we know, okay, don't listen to that voice in your head that tells you to jump. Like, oh, I wonder if I would survive that. Like, don't listen to that voice in your head. It's an impulse control. And he doesn't have that yet. Right. He never learned how to control his emotions. He's only ever learned to suppress them. And so he's like a teenager when it comes to, oh, that tastes good, I want to eat everything. It's like, you can't. You can't act on every feeling that you're feeling as you're feeling it. And if you're angry, you have to control your emotions, not suppress them, but control them as you were dealing with stressful actions or people or whatever. And so like we learned that as teenagers, teenagers as we grow up, and some people never learned it, but to how to control how you're going to react to something. And if you get angry, you can't act on that anger just because you're angry. Like you gotta rein it in. And we see with how he was about to go off on Kirk with the mess.
About to go off, he did go off.
Yes. Being held back, that he doesn't know how to control it. He only knows how to suppress it. And this was also a very fun episode, I think, for his mom, because his mom always felt that sort of disconnect, because she always said that she let his father force the Vulcanists so that way he would be more accepted by the Vulcan people. And like this was, I feel like, an episode for her to finally almost have something to bond with over her son. And I must say, Amanda was looking beautiful. She was sitting pretty in this episode. I was like, yes, yes, Mom. Yes.
But I think this was also more for her to prove that she had raised a Vulcan son that's worthy of marrying another Vulcan, right? I think it was more about her. And really, once he took that beanie off, that stupid beanie, she should have realized, ooh, stop. I need to postpone this engagement dinner. Because he was acting a trip right there.
And yes, the engagement dinner should have been postponed, but she did give a good reason of why it couldn't, because it already had been postponed multiple times. And T'Pring's mom was looking for a reason to not let it happen. And like literally at this point, you had no other excuses. Like, and you couldn't tell them you're human, because that's the whole thing in T'Pring's mom's mind, that's just like, well, then you definitely can't marry my daughter if you're human. So it's like there's a lot of politics at play with their relationship. So it's a lot. The way they explained it was it's a lot more culturally based. And if the mom said no, it wasn't like T'Pring could go through. Like she didn't want to be shunned by her family. Sometimes you always like, look, you're stressing me out, Mom, but like I can deal with your stress, but I can't deal with not being able to be a part of the family just because you decided to shun me because I married someone else.
I understand what you're saying, but it's ultimately about their relationship, right? And no one wants to start off their relationship with deceit, with lies. And so even if T'Pring knew, right? Still her parents didn't, right? And so it just makes it a much more awkward to say that he was in an accident and reschedule when he has a good relationship with Sarah too. His dad.
It sounds good. Like I have to disagree. I think the way they did, if they had postponed, it would have been another check against him. The mom didn't care that he was in an accident. She does not like Spock. So to give her any other reason of saying, oh, well, this is why you shouldn't be in Starfleet. Like you ditched my daughter for Starfleet and you get an accident and you can't even do a ceremonial dinner. Like it's another check marks against him.
But right now, there's a bigger check mark against them because they've separated. T'Pring is fucking separated.
It was like there was no winning in the situation.
Right. So it's better to be honest.
I think the only thing he failed at was not telling T'Pring. And I understand his reasoning at the end when he was just like, you were going to have to mind meld with your mother. And I didn't want this to have to come out that you knew this. And like, I didn't want to add any extra stress, because he did state that he was going to tell her first. And she let her know. Yeah. So that way she could help him through the process. But he's like, okay, crap, you're going to have to mind meld with your mom. You're very stressed. And T'Pring sort of almost said, like, don't tell me anything you don't want her to know. And it's just like, okay, you can't tell her this. I can't tell you this then, because I don't want your mom to find out. And then it's a fourth check against. Because like the way the mom walked into the room was with straight up disrespect.
Oh, yes.
She walked into Pike's quarters. The husband's like, oh, this is very beautiful. And she's like, I guess. Oh, the food's amazing. It's not fresh.
And I smell something.
Yes. And then there was no, it's like you got to choose which one if there's no win situation, you got to choose which one is going to cause the least amount of damage. And postponing it again would have caused more damage than trying to get through it and her never knowing he's human.
All I can think of now is that her mother and father is going to continue to ask T'Pring, right, questions about, oh, when are we going to see Spock again? When are we going to do this? And she's, oh, we're on a break.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I mean, they know why though. They probably know why. He told them that he was human, in the sense, and that was the accident that he was in.
Right.
They removed his Vulcan DNA. So it's like and I'm gonna be super honest. The mom is gonna be elated that they're on a break. Like, she's not gonna care. She's not gonna ask about Spock, because for her daughter's happiness is not as important as her daughter marrying the person she wants her to marry. Because if her daughter's happiness was the important part, she would be happy that her daughter. T'Pring has stated on multiple occasions, she accepts Spock for who he is.
Yes.
She is not expecting him to change. She loves him for who he is, and her mom does not care. Her mom wants her to be with a full Vulcan. So her mom is not going to ask questions. Her father may, because her father was a sweetheart who married a bitch.
Yes.
But her father was a sweetheart. He was like, oh, honey, he just probably was worried about like stressing you out in front of your mom, because you just said you spent 2 days talking about an outfit for today. But her mom's going to be like, oh, honey, here's this new man for you. He's my coworker's son. Let's go out to lunch together. That's what her mom's going to do. Her mom is not going to care they're going to be break. Her mom is going to see this as a win, because she doesn't care about her daughter's happiness. She cares about her daughter marrying the person she wants her to marry.
Right, and how it looks to other people on the outside.
Yes.
I just feel for Team T'Pring, because I know what she went through with Spock a month.
Oh yeah.
And that when Spock was like held captive, the whole Enterprise ship, and she had to come to the rescue. I can't remember the name of that episode, but
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but she had to watch Chapel and Spock kiss on the screen, though she knew they were faking it. But she's gone through a lot.
She has.
He should have been straight up.
He definitely should have told her. He definitely should have told her. He's like, look, I'm gonna tell you something, but I'm gonna need you to like, when you mind meld with your mom, like, you can't, like, the more you tell someone not to think about something, the more they're gonna think about it. But like, if he had told her, I don't think they would have never went on their break. Though I'm so much Team T'Pring that I'm okay. I don't like this break, but I'm okay with it, in the sense that I don't want her to be hurt later on because Spock can't get over his feelings for Nurse Chapel. And I would rather her be single and fierce and fabulous than thinking Spock loves her with everything and he's out there making out with Nurse Chapel, or wants to make out with Nurse Chapel. Because the worst thing you can do to someone is make them believe they're not crazy when they were right to have issues.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, this saga, this love triangle continues for another few years. But yeah, this is awkward. And it's going to make it awkward, I think, for Chapel and Spock. And I don't, with other missions. It'll be interesting to see how the next series of episodes go.
The biggest issue in this episode could have been avoided if they were just direct and stopped using flowery words. I'm coming at you, Pipe. Thank you, Moneca, for reminding me about him, and Nurse Chapel. Because if y'all had just got straight to the point, this could have all been avoided.
Yeah.
And the point is, when you're talking to Yellow about the issue about her repairing, quote unquote, repairing Spock, don't just say you repair. As Moneca pointed out, you didn't repair him. You didn't repair him. You broke him because he was human and Vulcan. He had both DNAs, and you stripped him of one DNA because you thought he needed to match the other person in the console. Say, hey, he's not repaired. Lodge a complaint. Don't just say, oh, everything is satisfactory. Say, hey, no, he was human and Vulcan. You took away his DNA. He's broken now. Be straightforward. And Nurse Chapel, I'm coming at you when you were on the planet and you are in interdimensional space and you were talking. It's like, oh, he's sometimes hard to talk to. He's this, he's that. Girl, he was half Vulcan and now he's not. Fix him. That is all you needed to say. Oh my gosh, I don't care how he makes you feel. I do not care. Science, you are a science officer. And Uhura and Ortegas, turn around and talk to the thing and say, hey, he was human and Vulcan and you made him just human. Can you fix our friend? Because you didn't fix him, you broke him. Say those words. Exactly. What is exactly wrong? Not how you feel. What is exactly wrong?
I also believe that, like, because she's a nurse, simple data and science would have helped her. Just to say, like, here's the log. Here's his last few physicals. This is clearly how he was before. Can you restore him before the way he was before the accident? Like,
Exhibit A.
Yes.
Say it louder, Moneca. You're a nurse.
It was interesting, though, seeing that species. If you don't mind chatting about that species for a little bit. When they were there in the, it was a
space hole.
That's
what I'm calling it.
The Star Trek mumbo jumbo, wherever they were. That was an interesting scene there because there was a lot of movements, and to see blue and yellow and one hand wasn't talking to the other hand, even though they were an advanced species, was interesting. And it also reminded me of like customer service at like for a big name company, which like, oh, here's our log, here's our steps. If you have a complaint, you need to follow it. Your warranty is expired. Now you're on to this step. So they're very like workflow process in a structure. And because Pike didn't report an issue earlier, they thought that they had moved in advance and they could, basically the conversation wasn't needed. Mm-hmm. And it goes to show too that even though Uhura is a communicator, she did not use those skill sets there.
Because they're smart, dumb people. And I do not get why this is a recurring theme. Like, you guys, the answer is A plus B equals C. Spock was human and Vulcan. You made him human. That's the problem. That is the equation. Fix it. There is no feelings involved in this. Like, I know you guys feel for him and you want him, like, you're his friends and you want him to like get better, but like science dictates, as Moneca stated, here's exhibit A, his last scan before the trip. Exhibit B, his current scan after the trip. They don't match. So something is wrong.
Also, why in the world did it take them so long to go back and ask for the people that caused this problem to fix it? The moment he woke up with what the F, like, okay, we're going to take you back. We're going to solve this.
Like, why did you not let him speak to the people?
Right.
Like, so it's like, I wish that when they would have these issues, I get that he had to stay human for the episode. Like, because at the end of the episode, he was able to basically tell off to Pring's mom and be like, hey, you thought a human couldn't do this. And I did as a human. Like, he took off the ears and is like, I'm human right now. That was the accident. Though I will say, he should have just said that was the accident I was in. And then Nurse Chapel came back and just fixed me. So I'm coming back to being Vulcan. But like, he should have said that. That should have been said in that moment. It was just like, Nurse Chapel came back, injected me. I'm getting Vulcan again. But everything I did beforehand was as a human, and I fooled you. And I did something that you thought I wouldn't be able to do because of my half human heritage. And I'm 100% human right now. So gang, I win. Like, like that should have been what he said. I think that might have saved him a little bit with T'Pring. Maybe it could have saved him a little bit if he had just been like, this was the accident we were in. This is why I tried to postpone, because I didn't know the full extent of my issues. But then he goes in to be like, Ma, thank you. You are the strongest woman that I know. And I was like, that is a good mama's boy. Spock is a good mama's boy, because his mom has a limit. She's like, look, if you wrong, you wrong. I'm gonna let you know you're wrong. But like, he's like, Mom, I never knew how strong you were until now. And to even see the memory she shared with him was when Vulcan children wanted to play with him. And it was like he was finally accepted by the Vulcan culture. And he's like, it never dawned on me that you weren't. And it never dawned on me how much you gave up to be here. And I was like, that was such a beautiful scene. So like, I get that he had to be human this episode. I just think if he was gonna be human, they should not have tried to solve it until the very end with him, because otherwise they made things a lot more exaggerated, a lot more emotional than they needed to be for this episode.
Good point. I like the fact that Spock shared his feelings about his mom in front of his in-laws. Yes. In front of T'Pring, that wasn't a separate conversation. But then later on, they had their one-on-one conversation. But I could see Amanda was full of emotion then, and she dropped a tear. She had a proud mom moment to know that he recognized that with her. Because monster-in-law, T'Pring, she was like, oh, this is like an ordinary day. Why is this important? Like, it's their mind meld. Get out of And good thing T'Pring stepped out. I was like, no, this is between the two of them.
Yes. And what like really gets me is the reason I really feel for T'Pring, because I don't really even remember her from the original series. Like, if I ever saw her on that show, I don't remember. If I ever like saw like clips or anything like that. But this T'Pring is such a supportive and understanding girlfriend, fiance. She has been with him in every step. And it's just like, T'Pring doesn't deserve what Spock and Nurse Chapel are doing. Because T'Pring's probably really heartbroken. And I get it, Spock, I get it. Nurse Chapel is making you feel things you didn't know you could feel. But if you really love T'Pring like you think you do, or you say you do, why are you entertaining someone else? And then also, Nurse Chapel, why are you kissing someone who just went on a break from being engaged? Like, this is not healthy.
Yeah, I feel like right now Spock's a rebound. No, but like Chapel's a rebound for
yeah.
He needs a break. He needs some time to take in all these emotions that this roller coaster ride that he just went through.
Well, I really enjoyed this episode. I would have enjoyed it if it ended with no kiss. I would have completely loved this episode if it ended with no kiss between Nurse Chapel and Spock, just because to even see what T'Pring went through, how she stood up for him in front of her mother when she was berating Spock and he was trying to hold in his emotion, and his mom and T'Pring was like, your time's up, Mom, it's over. Like, she has stood up for Spock, stood up for Amanda to her mom more than her own father does. And it's just like, Spock, you should have told her. Like, or even when Nurse Chapel came with the vitamins, he should have pulled T'Pring in with him and told her. There were so many times when he should have like respected T'Pring, and it's like, do you? So like, I'm really upset that they're over, but like, if they're gonna be over, I want T'Pring to win like the relationship breakup.
Yeah, for me, this episode was well written.
It was.
I really like the hijinks. There's a lot of really clever humor that they keep tying back into, whether it's the smells and different things like that. And I really like the foreshadowing. Earlier in the conversation, T'Pring's mom and Amanda mentioned that she should be more confident, that T'Pring should be more confident. And T'Pring was very confident. I mean, she told her mom her feelings. She also told Spock about where she stands there. And she's an independent woman, and I like that aspect of her. I wish more episodes were as thoughtfully written in Star Trek. I feel like the last episode we saw, Among the Lotus Eaters, was not as deep, or I missed the boat completely there. But this level of connections. And I feel like we learned a lot about Spock. Hey, he's one of the most popular characters in the Star Trek franchise. But in this episode, we learned a lot more about him and his relationship with his mother and his fiance. And so we're learning a lot about Chapel as well. Hey, I even picked up some things about Pike. But I feel like in the last episode, circling back to that again, I didn't learn as much about Erica Ortegas. Like, even though we went to her corner, it was supposed to be the Erica episode, I didn't really grasp a lot. I already knew that she was the pilot of the ship. So I pilot the ship.
I didn't learn anything else new about her.
Like, that's a given. I know that, right? So, so the character journeys were just different, but I felt like with this, there were a lot of stories within stories, and it hit all the marks. I don't, like you, I don't agree with the ending, but it's the story was written.
Time out. Pause. Everyone stop. Did Moneca just say she agreed with me?
Yes.
If you're watching, if you're listening to this on the podcast, find us on YouTube because I'm dancing right now.
Glad you.
We gotta celebrate when we agree because they don't always happen.
Yes. And they also mentioned Pilia, the new engineer, mentioned that she had met Amanda a while ago, and I was intrigued by that. I was like, I want more. And so after watching this episode the first time, I was like, but where's the new engineer? I know she has a relationship with Amanda. It would be nice if like mother-in-law met up with best friend and they were able to chat about these things, right? Mm-hmm. So a BFS, I don't know, I thought it would be cool. But there was nothing there. When I rewatched it, there was a quick conversation between Pike and Amanda, and when he mentioned that Polio is all finding dilithium.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll learn more about that in the next episode or two. But at least they didn't leave that plot hole. They didn't leave that open or forgot about that. So I like the fact that they are tying up some loose ends there and making those connections for those of us that are like interested more in learning more about their backstory.
I must say, I too was looking forward to them seeing each other. And when I found out that Pilly was off ship looking for doing the lithium run or whatever, that they could interact, because I thought they would have so much fun with trying to teach Spock to lie. I just thought that would have been hilarious. But yes. Alas, that did not happen. Maybe next time. We'll see. There's some more episodes. They can definitely run into each other at a different date, hopefully.
Yeah. One last thing for me, in addition to the beautiful sets, I really like T'Pring's dress.
Oh, she killed it.
Oh, the pleats, the shoulder, and I watched a behind the scenes of it. So her jacket, the shoulder parts was 3D printed and then placed on top of it. And so I just like the ornateness of that jacket. It was simple, but very elegant, sophisticated, futuristic. I was like, you go, girl.
It was beautiful. Her outfit was so pretty.
Yeah. The costumes were right on point. And mom, her parents, I like their costumes as well, especially the dad. And Spock's green ensemble was really nice.
Yes. The outfits in this episode, the sets were really nice. So I have to say, my final thought, because I forgot to say this, I think. Why the heck did you give Nurse Chapel all of your shields? Why?
He said that as a Vulcan, he thought that he was in a better state to survive.
Yeah, both should have survived. both be a little banged up. Come back together.
Yeah.
Well, that was my final thought. Don't do that against Spock. Even though I know the ending of Spock and T'Pring, I really like this version of T'Pring, and I want the best for her. So I hope they break the rules and change something. Well, I think that's everything. So thank you guys for listening. And as always, I'm Andrea.
I'm Moneca.
And live long,
and prosper.